Welcome back, everyone. Hope your Tuesday is going well. As you see, I have a box of Kmart Stars of the Decades 25th Anniversary Collector Set. Of course, I recently picked this up at a card shop down in Columbus, Indiana. I believe it was M&M Sports Cards and Collectibles. And I don't remember the name. I'm definitely going to go back. They had a lot of nice stuff down there. There's one side of the shop that's dedicated to sports cards. The other side of the shop is dedicated more to pop culture, so like comic books, movies, TV shows, etc. Very nice setup. Lots of room to walk around. Several sorting tables. Very nice place. I want to go back. They did have some good prices on some stuff, but I did pick this up. As you can see on the back here is the checklist to this. I think this came out, 1987, distributed by Topps, obviously for Kmart Corporation. And I'm not going to go down the list of names there, as we will see the cards individually. So you see a strong mix of Hall of Famers and players at the time that were at the top of their game. So I haven't taken these out, so there could be a couple missing. I hope not. But let's go down through these. First, we're going to start off with Hammer and Hank Aaron there. I believe he recently passed away. Can't remember if it was this year or last year. Pardon the jump cut. I had a sneeze there for a second. I did not want that to be on the video, as I'm learning how to pause this. We'll take a look at the back of the cards. Of course, it's a little off-center, left to right. Kmart logo. There's your number inside the star. Very cool. Has some career highlights, where he played, vitals. I'm not sure if that's all his career statistics. Oh, it's just the 60s. Okay, star of the 60s. Okay, so very good. I should know better than that because I know that he played to at least 75. Up next, we have Roberto Clemente. Of course, Roberto tragically passed away. I want to say it was in the late 70s, maybe? Or no, I'm sorry, 72, 71, somewhere thereabouts. I was thinking of Thurman Munson passed away in the late 70s. Clemente passed away in the early 70s. Bob Gibson, St. Louis Cardinals. Let's look at his stats, because it's going to be from the 60s, I would assume. Nice set of stats there from the 1960s. Harmon Killebrew. Yeah, Minnesota Twins. Kind of skip around here and look at some of these. Mickey Mantle. Of course, no introduction needed there. Juan Marichal. I probably butchered that last name, so I apologize. Personally, I don't know much about Juan, but let's take a look at his statistics real quick for you guys. And I like these cards. They have a semi-gloss front and a kind of a matte finish, or what I call a dry back. Roger Maris, Willie Mays, Brooks Robinson. And I like these cards here where you have the stadium in the background. You kind of see that inverted arch look up there. I really like some of the backdrops of the 60s and so forth. Kind of in a practice swing. Frank Robinson, nice looking card. Yaz, Carl Yastrzemski. Johnny Bench. Now we're getting into some 70s guys here. So let's look at Johnny's stats, see what he comes up with. 3 home runs in a game. Of course, this was the era of the Big Red Machine in Cincinnati. Very, very tough team. St. Louis Cardinals represented again with Lou Brock. Of course, Cardinals have the second most World Series victories behind the Yankees. It's going to be a minute before they can catch them. But certainly could be done in this century if they continue some of those runs like they had in 2006. And was it 2013 that they won the series again? I'm kind of lost. But I definitely know they won in 2006. Rod Carew, again, with the Twins. Steve Carlton. Let's look at his stats right quick for you guys. I'm not going to go over all these stats, but just kind of interesting to see that he jumped from the Cards to the Phillies there. Because many of these players now, Reggie, he moved around a lot. I know he went from the A's to the Yankees. I don't say a lot, but let's look at Mr. October's stats. So the A's, the Orioles, the Yanks. So he did have a little bit of movement, not a lot. But it's not like today's players where they are constantly just have a suitcase on call, ready to go to the next team. Jim Palmer, Jim Rice. And now we're starting to get into some players here. When I started watching a little bit of baseball and collecting baseball cards, these guys were near the end of their career. Pete Rose. So he was obviously banned from baseball, but his last season as a manager, 1989, came in the same season that I started getting into collecting. Nolan Ryan. So there's a player that played for 4 different teams. I believe it was the Mets, the Angels, the Rangers, and the Astros. But this is his 70s record. You see he had 4 no-hitters in the 70s. Pretty impressive. It had incredible longevity. Tom Seaver. Willie Stargell. Wade Boggs. I want to say he ended his career with, was it the Rays or the Marlins? One of the Florida teams. I'm kind of lost on that, but through the 80s, at this point, he had only played with the Red Sox. A very consistent player. Then we have George Brett. I think everybody's familiar with the pine tar incident that was caught on television and replayed over several times. Gary Carter. We have Dwight Gooden. Of course, Dwight kind of fell from graces and had some personal issues with substances and so forth, but was still a powerhouse pitcher during his first several years there. Rickey Henderson, all-time stolen base leader in those pinstripes with the Yankees. Let's flip this over and check out his movement. Obviously started in 1980 with the A's, would later be traded back to the A's, and then I'm not sure where he went after that. I know he kind of hopped around just a little bit. Then we have Don Mattingly. Dale Murphy, who was a fixture with the Braves for many years. Eddie Murray. Mike Schmidt. I believe he played most of his time with the Phillies as well. Star of the 80s. I don't remember him really moving around. I could be wrong. Darryl Strawberry. Another one like Dwight Gooden. Controversial figure up there in Mets land. And we're going to end with Fernando Valenzuela. So you can kind of see here with this mid and early to mid 80s, there was a big mix of some different players that started off their careers really, really strong and went south really quickly. But the other ones that you see that were chronicled here from the 60s and 70s had very solid careers all the way through. So it's really interesting to see who the players that Topps thought was going to be, much like the people from the 60s and 70s that had long and storied careers and just didn't pan out. So, again, baseball and baseball cards is purely speculative. You have to be careful out there. You never know what you're going to get wrapped up in. So I think, even today that holds so true. You see so many people, there's a hot prospect and they want to go out there and get their first card and pay $500 or $600 for it. And then 3 years later, they something happens, they get hurt, they just get on a bad streak, they fall out of favor with their team and nobody wants them, and suddenly that $500 card is now a $3 card. But again, it's just interesting to kind of go back and look with some of this stuff and see who Topps thought that some of the best players of the 80s were. Now, even though we're getting into the back half of the decade there, and you really can't put like a Ken Griffey Jr. or Randy Johnson because they only played in 89 as their rookie season. So to look at something like this and look at the players, Darryl Strawberry and Dwight Gooden really, really stand out on this list to me. And Fernando Valenzuela slightly less stands out as strong players of the 80s because their careers did kind of, taper off about midway through, and they just never restored their rookie and sophomore year glory that they had. So very interesting set. I got a few more sets. I got 4 more sets over here that we're going to review at some point in time. Just want to kind of get off the path a little bit and do something a little bit different. Thought you guys might like this. So anyway, thanks again for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, and we will see you tomorrow.